Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. It's Friday. It's Tell Your Friend Friday. You got a friend on the edge of spiritual life? Today's the day. You contact them.
Push them over the edge?
You push them over the edge. You send them a copy of Wisdom of the Sages. Say, hey, I think you share it. Sharing means so much. Isn't it interesting how we've taken old words and upcycled them to share, right? To share means something much different now. Like imagine 20 years ago, if I said, can I get on your hotspot? That was, I don't know where that came from. We just have whole new words, right? We've created an entire new language in 10 years. I didn't want to start the show with that, but I did want to start the show because, Steve, I got a good one. Actually, before we start, Mara, you want to make some announcements for this weekend? We got a big, beautiful weekend coming up.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff going on this weekend. We have Bhakti recovery group meetings every day now. So there's one today at 3:00, tomorrow and Sunday at 9:30 in the morning. And then we also
Bhakti recovery is taking over. This might become this is a Bhakti recovery meeting. I'm Raghunath from Wisdom of the Sages, and that's how we start the show. But it's good. Everybody check it out if you haven't done it.
Yeah. And then there's also other things to check out. Bhakti 101 with Kaustubha on Sunday, 10:30 a.m.
Yeah, no Saturday this week. Sorry about that, but we got Sunday.
Yeah. And then we also have a Yoga Nidra workshop with Silas Sunday evening and a Bhakti Q&A, Bhakti and Kirtan Q&A with Madhu.
All right.
Awesome. What time
Silas
is
moving back to New York.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the time for Madhu?
8 p.m. Eastern time.
8 p.m. Eastern.
Fantastic. We love him. Madhu does our Kirtan Academy in India in January. If you want to study Kirtan deeply, check it out. We're about to announce all these programs we're doing. Had this deep realization. Sometimes I think when you study Bhakti, then anything else you do within the material world, you can get some deep realization out of it. Can I share this one with you? It's from The Simpsons.
Okay. Simpsons is full of insight.
It's filled with a lot of insight. I haven't watched it in a long time, but it's.
Is this wisdom from the mouth of Lisa Simpson?
No, this is from the activities
from Mo.
Of Homer's.
Homer.
It's from the bad qualities of Homer. It was one of these. It was one of these situations where, and you probably have done this as a child. Maybe not you, Kaustubha, but ever reach your hand in a soda machine where it comes out and try to reach up and try to grab the soda and try to, because in the old days, like in the 60s, you could actually pull them out. And then in the 70s, they got a little bit smarter. You had to do some other things to get those soda. So Homer had reached his arm up and grabbed the Coke, but he got his arm stuck. And instead of trying to figure out how to get that arm out, there was another Coke machine, and he reached his hand in the second Coke machine, and he got that one stuck, and he had two arms stuck. And all of a sudden, you see this ambulance and paramedics, and they're like they're chainsawing open the machines, and they're like, Mr. Simpson, you're holding on to the Coke. Just let go of the Coke and you can get your hand out of the machine. And it's this ongoing, the 12-step, our 12-step geniuses say it so well. A fearless moral inventory is a necessity on our spiritual life. Or you can call that a brave, awkward reflection of our false self to understand what the real self is. There's a false me that I've been parading around with and showing off and trying to impress people with. And it's been complicating my life. And some of the things that are complicating my life, they don't have me. I have them. Homer Simpson could pull the arm out if he wanted to, but he's holding on to it. And when we take that self-reflection, this awkward moral inventory of my shortcomings, of my rage, of my anger, of my, sticking my heels in the mud, that resentment, I will not forgive this person, of my mishandling of my sexual energy or of my mental energy or of my financial energy or the way I treat people on a regular basis. When I can actually take a good look at my false self, then I can get to know my fake self. And then we have to notice those demons. And there's this concept like, well, they'll go away. They'll just go away. I'm getting older. They won't go away. They won't go away. They're getting stronger. You meet people like this in the yoga community who they're new to the yoga community. They're just feeling like, I'll put off yoga for another year. I'll put off yoga for another year. You're not getting any younger. It's not like, oh, I'm going to put it off for 10 years and then I'll be able to put my legs behind my head. No, that's not going to work. So the best time to start yoga, maybe 30 years ago. The second best time to start yoga, today. In the same sense, the best time to tackle these demons that I'm dealing with in my life, 30 years ago. When the trauma started, that's when you deal with them. And if you didn't deal with them, the second best time to deal with them, that's today. And this is the beauty of the Bhagavatam, isn't it?
It is. You have to kill that fake self that you're talking about. You have to kill that fake self, right? If you want to get real, right? And
if you want to get real, that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, you really. In other words, all the spirituality it's not so real until you get to that level of really trying to kill that fake self. And one of the best ways to kill it is through humor, right? You have to come to the point where you can laugh at your own shortcomings. Otherwise, you'll hate yourself, right? So you got to laugh at it.
I thought you were going to say something really deep, but that is actually deep. You got to almost laugh at the shortcomings. I'm Homer Simpson, and I'm holding on to a bunch of stuff, and my arms are trapped in the machines.
Well, the humor, almost all of it, is based off of someone being made ridiculous, someone being made to look ridiculous because of their material attachments, right? If you analyze humor and you look at it, it almost always goes back to that someone's being made a fool of. The material energy is working in such a way that they're being made a fool of. Right? I want this. My senses have me so controlled that I need this Coke. I stick my hand up the thing. I get stuck. I'm in a miserable position, and I'm so stupid that I go rather than dealing with the problem, I reach in and I double the problem, right? But that's what we're doing all the time, and we have to be able to look at it and then laugh at it and then let it go, and that way you can kill it.
That's another good point is instead of dealing with the problem, I do something else to create a second. I make my mess even messier. Ever do that one? I made a mess, and now instead of dealing with that mess, I'm going to create a lie about what I just did.
right.
I'm going to grab a second Coke and fold my hands. I've been doing a lot of interviews since I've been back from my trip, and I've been teasing out this thing that we were talking about, sinful. It's such a judgmental word. Your sinful activities. I'm never going to use it anymore.
Crippling.
Yeah. Well, it's like it makes God, sweet, lovable, adorable Sri Krishna. It makes him out to be like nasty, persnickety Judge Judy. And Krishna is not Judge Judy. That's our hashtag for today. Krishna, I'm going to write that down. Krishna is not Judge Judy.
Put that down.
Okay? Krishna is love. Krishna is not Judge Judy. Right. Okay. Write that down, everybody. Krishna is love. Krishna wants us back in his life. There's no judgment. There's an embrace. Whereas the material world, instead of saying judgment, there's judgment for your sinful activities. There is just activities that cripple my good fortune. Like if I was to give you a Ferrari and I say, hey, here's a Ferrari, and Kaustubha says, thanks for the Ferrari. Now I'm going to take a shotgun and blow out the tires. Why? Why would you do that, man? Because it's like, that's what we're doing. These so-called sinful things. It's not like they're sinful. Krishna's not thinking, oh, you jackass. We're doing these things to ourselves. I'm shooting out my own tires for no good reason. It's not a judgment. It's just a foolish choice. That's not enhancing my speed in my vehicle.
You know, you wouldn't hate me. You wouldn't hate me for wrecking the vehicle. You'd be like, Kaustubha, come on, you're wrecking your own vehicle here.
You're wrecking why, man?
Okay.
And that's part of love too, isn't it? Part of Krishna's love for us. You know, if I love my wife, I'm not going to get her in a headlock and put a gun to her head and say, you better start loving me. That's not love. That's psycho-coercion. Love means you let a person go and they fall in love with you. They come over all the other things of the material world that are enamoring, and they go back to you. And this is Krishna. Here's an entire material world. Do whatever you want. And Krishna is so beautiful. He says that in the Gita. At the end of the Gita, he says this great statement. I've told you everything. I've shown you everything. I've explained it all. Do whatever you like. That's love. And I love you. What do you think about that, Kaustubha?
Thank you. It means so much to me, Raghu. You ready?
So you ready to dive and dip?
I'm ready. We're going to finish the chapter today.
Ooh. Let's start with some magical incantations. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances to my spiritual masters, who have opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance, with the torchlight of knowledge. Kaustubha, because we have so many, a lot of people join and listen to this new. Can you explain? Because it's a little intimidating, this word, spiritual master. It's almost like, who are these spiritual masters? Can you explain that in sort of a layman's term?
I mean, I suppose you could interpret that word. It's a translation of the word guru, I suppose. But I think you can look at it different ways. But you can say, what have you mastered, right? It can look a little scary if it's like, oh, that's the master, and you become like the slave or something like that. But they've mastered their senses, they mastered their lower nature, and therefore you can enter deeper into spirituality, right? So, like we said, you just like I was saying earlier, you have to kill your fake self. You have to master your fake self, you could say, if you want, express it different ways.
We might have to retranslate that word too, spiritual master.
Okay. But yeah, so someone that's mastered their lower nature, then they're capable of becoming deeply absorbed in that spiritual content, the wisdom that grows out of the spiritual culture. So I suppose that's one way you could translate it,
But teachers.
Yeah. I mean, a teacher, yes, but someone that not just teaches, but embodies those teachings as well.
The best way to teach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, I saw episode 6.
You saw episode 6.
Yeah.
Great episode. It always comes back to
Surviving
Surviving Death, doesn't it?
Surviving Death.
Netflix.
Yeah, I saw it.
That's a game changer, isn't it? It's episode 6.
It wasn't a game changer for me. No, it didn't change
we
the
were
game.
already playing the game, but for me, it was
Could be a
like,
game changer.
See, I told you.
It's all true.
Real.
Yeah. No, that was, it was interesting. I mean, it was so, where there's that young man who had these memories of how he was like this Hollywood actor.
That was freaking nuts.
And then he went and met his daughter from the previous life.
That was nuts.
And you could just see how awkward that moment was. It was just like,
Yeah.
he's sitting there all confused, sort of feeling it, not fully feeling it, understanding that I'm looking at my daughter, but I don't remember her. and she's like, "This is my father." But it was cool. I thought it was interesting, and I like that work of Ian Stevenson. Like the research that he did and everything. It's interesting to go into. I think they could have gone into it more effectively, but it wasn't. It was interesting. They threw out 3 examples, and they were interesting, I thought.
They should have got a card carrying Hare Krishna on that show. To really explain that Bhakti.
Yeah,
trait.
right. Yeah,
Right?
yeah. That would have been great. Episode 7 would have been like, hey, this isn't. And they did touch on that where they said in the Eastern culture, and you could see it, right? Because 2 of those, like the men, like the fathers who were dealing with their children who were having these past life memories, apparently, they were so adverse to accepting it,
Sure.
and they would use these, expletives to describe it. That was their immediate reaction. It was like,
Sure.
right, this is BS. But what they're saying, but in the Eastern culture, it's not such a big deal because people already accept that that life is something beyond the body.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so instead of when a child, and this happens a lot, and a child starts talking about a family or imaginary friends and things like that, instead of saying, "Oh, they're not real, they're not real, they're not real," in the East they'd say, "Oh yeah, tell me about them," because they realize this child's probably revealing something.
Yeah.
We
Something
shove
like
it down. Forget the past. You're with me now. Now you're safe.
It was
I'm your
interesting.
real father.
It was interesting. There was one child who had these memories of World War II and going down in a plane in Japan.
Oh man, that was good.
And his father's immediate reaction was, was this, kind of cold shutting it down. But then this little kid started throwing out these details, and he started researching them, and then there's no way that this kid could have known these things.
He named like the ship he was on.
He named the ship, and person who went down, other people that he served with, and so on.
When I say it's a game changer, I mean it for a person who this is just sort of new. You understand, like, oh, this stuff is real. You can't just make up this stuff.
To me, the most important moment in the whole show, because to me it was about these fathers who were so adverse to. The mothers were more open.
Why is
Right.
it that the mothers are always more open? Let's just see.
This male psychology sometimes interferes, right?
Yeah.
And so the men were like shutting it down, but you saw the father of the kid they took his kid to Japan, and they took him to the very area where his plane got shot down, and the kid just kind of let it all go and cried, and you could see how happy the father was, that this kind of weight that was on the kid all along, but the other father, what he said. The other father, this guy from Oklahoma, heavy Christian one, and he said, "Do I believe that this was real? That my child had another life? Yes." But then he said, "Does it change my religion? No." He says, "I still believe, in Jesus and all of that, but I believe that the soul is eternal and that he could have had another life."
Well, what is heaven? What is hell? Like, who's going there? Me in my flesh? In my sweatsuit, am I going to hell? But the soul, something more subtle is going, not my body. My body's in the ground.
Yeah,
That's reincarnation in the simplest sense.
What I saw in that statement was just that transcendental knowledge had prevailed, and religion didn't manage to kill it, and he was able to bring the two together. You know, that's what I saw in that. And that's why I just so much appreciate what Srila Prabhupada did. He wasn't trying to convert everyone to become a Hare Krishna. He was trying to bring transcendental knowledge into the marketplace of ideas. So he would say, you go to Harvard University, but who's studying, what's the difference between a living body and a dead body? Who's actually, really digging into that question? Everybody needs to contemplate this. Everybody needs to think about this. And so I appreciated that man was able to say that. It's like his religion didn't crush what he could see right before his eyes. And that transcendental knowledge that the soul is eternal, that the body is just a vehicle and that the soul is something beyond that. It sunk into him, and he was still able to hold on to his faith. And I thought that was great.
The only thing that sort of irked me about the whole thing was like the body, the kid that died and went into this other body.
That was all of them. Which one?
It seems so random, though. Why that family? Out of all the, maybe you'll get reborn, and you'll get reborn as like my father will get reborn as my grandson or something like that. Why some random family?
Like why did the Hollywood actor end up out in Oklahoma?
Yeah, why that?
Well,
that was.
But the intricacies of karma are too difficult to understand.
Yeah, you can't understand the intricacies of like whatever that family has. It might be exactly the recipe this kid needs for transcendence.
Not might be, it is, Raghu.
That's what I said. It is definitively the exact recipe this child needs.
And and I know that because you said they should have brought on a full-on Hare Krishna into this film, I know you were feeling this, like you were feeling.
Should have been me.
Well, that not to be in the show necessarily, but to help the person, right? Like, hey, I can help you understand this, right? It's easy. It's the ABCs.
It's the ABCs
of spiritual knowledge.
Of the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, Bhagavad Gita, just turn second chapter, just start reading. It's all right there.
Yeah, I'd have to just go, okay, hold the show a second. I can demystify your entire show. That first of all, that medium, she's channeling ghosts. Okay, I'm just going to put that. It's not spiritual. They're subtle beings. Some are malefic. Be careful. Okay, episode 1. Let's go back. Let's start with episode 1. I'm going to give you the whole rundown, guys.
It's true.
And anybody could do that. Bhakti Matthew could get on as the expert and just be like, I'm Bhakti Matthew. I've read the Bhagavad Gita. I'm the expert here.
Maybe we ought to do a special podcast that's just all about, we could walk someone through like sports, again, like sports broadcasters. We could go through surviving death like that. Give the side commentary.
Oh, that'd be good. Sports broadcasters.
Yeah. Those give the commentary as they're going through it. Like, okay, we're talking about malefic being here. We could do it, Raghu.
This is obviously a malefic being. That was Howard Cosell doing malefic beings. Okay, let's dive into the Bhagavatam. Now we're drifting.
It's all Bhagavatam, Raghu. Okay.
That's my line. It's all Bhagavatam.
So we are in Canto 3 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're going to complete Chapter 5 of Chapter
I'll try
3.
my best not to.
No, because you're going to just read all the verses. You're going to just finish it right now. You're going to read all the verses, okay? So we're beginning at verse 48.
I might take you on a transcendental detour.
Just read the verses.
Okay, what is this? 48?
48. Is that the one? Yes.
Oh, original person. Isn't that a great concept?
The Adipurusha.
The original
the root
person.
The root of it all.
The root of it all. Fascinating. Oh, original person, we are therefore but yours only. Although we are your creatures, we are born one after another under the influence of the 3 gunas, these 3 energies or modes of material nature. And for this reason, we are separated in action. Therefore, after the creation, we could not act concertedly for your transcendental pleasures.
Okay, so who's speaking?
I don't even know. Where are we? I'm still thinking about Homer Simpson. Where are we? What's going on?
This is the Devas, all the demigods.
Oh, yeah, all the demigods.
The gods, right? The demigods are speaking to Lord Vishnu. They're offering their prayers. Everything's just been created, right? Like the bodies and obviously the bodies of the demigods have been created, the senses, the sense objects, and these are like these beautiful, empowered, intelligent people. But they realize we have a mission to do on behalf of Lord Vishnu. That's what we do, right? That's what we're meant to do. That's where we'll find our connection with that Adi Purusha. I wonder what word they use as original person, if it's Adi Purusha.
I bet it's Adi Purusha.
Is it? I'll find it.
I don't have the Sanskrit in front of me, do you?
I got it. By one's own. We'll look for it later because I can't
Mara
find
would
it
be
right
all
now.
over this.
Adya.
Adya, yeah, Adya,
Adya.
the original. Thank you, Mara.
She is. She's just sort of shy. She's just sort of shy.
Yeah, you're the Adya. You are the origin, and so he's the root, and I think that's our theme for today. This understanding, rootedness. But please keep reading, Raghu.
Text 50. You are the original.
No.
Text 49.
There you go.
Oh, unborn one. Another great one. You are unborn. How can that? Everything is born. No, everything's not. Everything is born except one particular being. Oh, unborn one.
Yeah.
Got the Sanskrit for that, Mara? She
Aja.
muted herself.
Aja.
What is it?
Ja means born, like Janma, like Janmastami or whatever. Ja refers to birth, so Aja.
Aja, the unborn. O unborn one, please enlighten us regarding the ways and means by which we can offer you all enjoyable grains and commodities, so that both we and all other living entities in this world can maintain ourselves without disturbance and can easily accumulate the necessities of life, both for you and for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. They're trying to get rooted here.
They're trying to get connected. They're trying to appreciate where everything comes from. So they want to give back. That's part of appreciation, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Text
Now
50.
it's text 50.
You are the original
Again.
personal founder. You're the founder. That's a great.
You're
the
the
original
what the
personal
Sanskrit
founder.
for that is here?
No.
Purusha Puranaha.
Ooh.
Right.
Purusha
So Purana
Purana.
means refers to like something that's historic or old, right? So and Purusha is person.
Oh, Purusha
Adya.
Purana.
Yeah. And again, Adya
You're the
is
oldest
there.
person. You're the oldest person.
Yeah.
Like this is called the Bhagavat Purana. The Purana means like the old
The
stories,
histories.
the histories.
Yeah.
You are the original personal founder, the Purusha Purana, of all the demigods and the orders of different gradations. Yet you are the oldest and you are unchanged. O Lord, you have no source or superior. You have impregnated the external energy with the semen of the total living entities, yet you are unborn.
There you go again, Raghu. You're like
That's
obsessed.
the third time you made me say that.
But actually, all three verses they're saying they're stressing a point here, right? You're the origin. You don't have an origin. You're the origin of everything. You're the root of all existence. Everything's stemming from you. And they're like, we want to be hooked up to you, right? We don't want to be disconnected from that root.
You are the normal. You are the normal, and we are part of you. We're always trying to figure out what is normal. Like we go to to see a therapist, and they're trying to like take us back underneath your trauma, underneath your addictions, underneath your bad habits. They're trying to take us back somewhere, some authentic me, some authentic self. What is normal? Lord Vishnu, he's the original normal. It's the healthy normal. And there's a normal, and there's a little piece of him in it, that is us.
Yeah.
That we're trying to reconnect with.
Just one more verse, Raghu.
I won't do it. I won't finish this chapter.
Just finish it.
O Supreme Self, please give us, who are created in the beginning from the Mahatattva. That's the Mahatattva is the big bowl of mixing bowl, right?
Yeah. All of the stuff.
All the ingredients of the material universe. The total cosmic energy. Your kind directions on how we shall act. O Supreme Self, let me try that again. Please give us, who are created from the beginning, from the Mahatattva, the total cosmic energy, your kind directions on how we shall act. Tell us how to act. Kindly award us your perfect knowledge and potency so that we can render you service in the different departments of subsequent creation. They want to know what to do.
What to do, how to serve.
What do you do in this world?
You know why you and I are not demigods, Raghunath?
Because I'm short.
No.
That's
like,
one
if
reason.
you were a demigod, you wouldn't be short. No, this is the
that's
reason.
why I'm just saying. That's why I'm not a demigod. I'm too
No,
short.
that's how we know you're
I
not a
didn't make
demigod.
the list.
That's how we know you're not a demigod. But why aren't you in a tall demigod body right now? And me, for that matter.
Crippling activities from previous lives, perhaps.
Well, yeah, you could say it that way. But yeah, I would say it like this. You know, it's like if we were given demigod bodies and the demigod atmosphere, we would end up like Homer Simpson, right? We would have a hand up one
And start exploiting everybody.
Right, yeah, we would just like lose it, right? We'd be like, oh my God, I got this incredibly beautiful body, and like there's all these other beautiful people around, and we're in this beautiful place. Let's party, right? It's like we would lose it, right?
Krishna keeps me short and ugly. I sometimes would think like that because our band got pretty big, but we never got like super duper big. And I like really analyzed this. Well, like if I'm devoted to Krishna, why wouldn't Krishna let me get very big? Or, and this is an interesting thing that's different, I think, in spiritual life that I've noticed when you study astrology and you see people have some type of karma, and you think that karma, you got ups and downs and stuff like that. But Krishna is above your karma. Spirit is above those material energies, those forces, pulling the strings of the puppet, of the meat puppets that we are. By the way, we said meat puppet the other day, and practically that day, I saw a picture of the meat puppets, the band, come up on my feed. How Krishna miracle is that? But anyway,
that one doesn't.
It doesn't count as a Krishna miracle. That's
for me.
Come on, some type of coincidence.
That might have been an example of the other Dustin Hoffman frequency theory that you had.
Oh yeah, the frequency.
That you might have seen the
Biter maiden,
the meat puppets like on any given day, and just it would slip by. But on this day, you took note.
Okay, what was I talking about? I had a good point. Oh, so Krishna is higher than your karma. So I was thinking like maybe it was me and Parmananda's karma to get very huge, but Krishna stepped in and said, you know what? This ain't going to be good for you. So you're not going to get it. But it's in my karma. I'm above your karma, and I love you. So I'm not going to give it. Like, why would a parent give a child, here, you want a bag of candy to ruin your life or to ruin your day, ruin your appetite? So sometimes Krishna, and I think Krishna will give you something that maybe it's not in your karma, if you think you'll do something wonderful with it. Right. So I think that Krishna starts to go into your own life and sort of move around the karma a little bit.
Yeah. Well, this is when things get spiritual.
Out of love.
But just the way that you're analyzing your own life, maybe I'm do this, maybe I'm do that. That I really don't know. I can't really say. It may be like this or maybe like that. But ultimately, what do you want of me? How do I get myself centered around you, right? Like, rather than being a Homer Simpson who's not, who's like entirely lacking wisdom and is just searching for enjoyment recklessly in this world.
He's such a great archetype, isn't he? Homer Simpson it's like one of these classic, epic archetypes of like ancient literature.
Yeah, sure. And so the Devas, they, what's so glorious about them? Now the Bhagavatam will show how they become Homer Simpson on occasion too, right? Even Brahma becomes Homer Simpson in the 10th canto. Let me take Krishna's cows. Let me take Krishna's friends. I'll show him, right? He's made a fool. Yes. Indra, kind of regularly.
On a regular basis.
On a regular basis. I mean, not on a regular basis, but
he has sex
few
with the
times that
wife.
It happens.
He rains. He throws rain down on all the inhabitants of Vrindavan.
This is his guru. He gets desperate in different ways.
Sacrificial horse.
Yes. Oh God, that was the worst Homer. That was like the ultimate Homer Simpson hand stuck up.
Maybe he's not Homer Simpson because Indra's not like a sloth like Homer. He's sort of like very foxy. He pulls tricky things. He's like mischievous, problematic.
Well, Homer's not sleepy. He's moving around. He's doing stuff.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, he steals one horse. He puts on a disguise, steals a horse, gets caught, embarrassed, puts on a disguise, tries to steal the horse again, gets caught again. That was a total Homer. He got his hand stuck first, then he got stuck again. Right?
How about the time the sage goes to get water, leaves his young wife there, and then he changes his body to look like the sage and comes back and says, "I want to have sex."
Right.
That's all. You can't make up
that was bad
stories.
But I think in general, over his like incredibly long lifetime, these are rare instances. Generally, he's together, right?
Yeah, I guess we only hear the highlight reel of his life, which is
because the
or the
Bhagavatam
fail,
is saying,
the Indra fail reel.
Right, because the Bhagavatam is saying even Indra, even this great person, even this incredibly intelligent, powerful, wise person, when he gets too caught up in materialism, he becomes a fool. Even he becomes a fool.
Right.
So what
he gets cursed to be a pig and lives amongst pigs on the farm.
And then when everyone says, "Come on back to the heavens," he's like, "What are you talking about? Everything's great here."
Everything's that's great. Truthfully, Indra's going through all these pastimes. Sometimes I feel like in my own life, I've been Indra on many occasions, where it's like you got to do something really stupid to realize like this is so stupid, and like I needed that, and maybe Indra just has that position of getting in one of these going through these buffoon motions and humiliating situations for our benefit, so we can see it. This is what not to do. Thank you, Indra.
Thank
for
you.
our benefit.
It's like that. There's the incredible book, the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, right, written by.
Do tell.
Written by the great.
Explain the book.
Sage.
Explain the book. Was that the book the monkey ate?
Monkey? I don't know what you're talking about.
I was then Vrindavan Maharaj. And the monkey
were you reading
book?
Brihad Bhagavatamrita?
You don't know that story? It's a good story.
Yeah, that was a Homer Simpson story if I've ever heard one.
That was when I was on full-on Homer Simpson.
All right, go ahead. Tell it.
It was after a pilgrimage, and I was, it's the day after a pilgrimage where you're doing a lot of work and you're trying to keep everybody up and inspired and things like that. And the day after everybody leaves, I take a couple of days off for myself, and then I sometimes get sick because I've been holding up a lot. Yeah, right. And I remember just being completely exhausted. So I went over to see Maharaj, and I said, "Maharaj, I need just to take a break, and can I sit on your porch in the sun?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure. Here, sit down." He gives me a gumsha. You put this down, take off your shirt, get in the sun. I got some coconut oil. I'm rubbing coconut oil on my body.
So hold it. So now we have to picture you.
Yeah, you got to picture me there. Just
you're in a loincloth with
in a chair, trying to sun myself.
Your body oiled down with coconut oil, trying to enjoy in the sun in a monkey reserve.
I said, "Do you have a book I can read?" And what's this? And they had a book on his desk. "What's this book?" And he said, "Oh, this is the Brihad Bhagavatamrita."
What is this rare-looking book over here?
What is this rare-looking book with all your notes in it? And he's like, "Yeah, but you got to be very careful. That's like I'm studying this one. All my notes are in that one. Be very careful."
I think it was an advanced copy that hadn't been published yet.
Wasn't it? He's like, "Yeah, but be very careful with it." So I'm like reading through the book, getting a little coconut oil on it, and going through and sitting there in the sun. Everything's good. And then he called me into the room. "Come here a second," and we started talking about something. Goes, "Where's the book?" I was like, "I left it out there." He goes, "You left that book out there with all those monkeys?" And I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, like a monkey's going to read a book. I go out there. There is a monkey chewing on the book. Like, I was like, "No, please, monkey, no. Please, monkey, no." And the monkey sees me, and he just grabs all the pages and rips a chunk out of the book, of the pages. It was unbelievable. And there's a big bite.
Raghunath's self-perception of the loyal disciple is being shredded as the pages are being shredded.
It was amazing. Like, I was like, what's a monkey going to do with a book? I was like, I could understand if I left a pack of bananas out there. Okay, don't leave a pack of bananas out there. Okay, that's my story. So the book, the Brihad Bhagavatamrita.
So the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, well, it's a very lengthy book and has different important sections in it. But one of them, it begins with who, I'm spacing out. Is it Narada himself that sees
I don't know. I never read it.
oh God,
Monkey,
I feel
monkey took it too
feels so
fast.
stupid. But he sees, he's at this holy place, Allahabad, the tree veining, where the three holy rivers meet.
We like to call it
Yes,
Prayagraj.
Prayag. Now it's called Prayag. Yeah, back to Prayag. So in Prayag, he sees it's this big festival, like spiritual kind of get together, and he sees a Brahmin, a really pure, spiritual, wise man, and he's doing this puja, right? I think to his shalagram shilas, right? He's doing this ritual, but you can see he's absorbed in it. You can just look at him and see this is for real. He's got love in his heart, and he's deeply absorbed. He's very pure. And
You see that in India a lot. You see people
Yeah.
like locked in.
Yeah, he's locked in. He's for real, and he's got his followers there, like his students, and they adore. You can see they adore him and appreciate him and are following in his footsteps and purifying themselves. And so he says to him, he walks up and says, "You are the most fortunate man in the world. I'm just looking at you, and I can see you're plugged in. You are connected spiritually. You've got a great thing going on here. Your worship is beautiful. I can see in your rituals that you're completely connecting with him. It's not mechanical or dry. It's for real."
Now, most people, when they get glorified like that, they'll think, yes, thank you you very much. But what did he say?
He says, "Me, I'm nothing. You think I'm deeply connected? I'm deeply spiritual. You think my puja is like a big deal over here, and my followers is like my opulences are very tiny, because I'm just a very tiny person that's just trying to reconnect here. It's my own little way. You want to see the real thing? Go down south. Go down to South India. There's a king down there. His puja is like really beautiful and opulent. He's much more devoted than me. You think I've got followers? He's got thousands and thousands of followers. Go see him." So he goes down to South and he goes to see this king, and he sees everything that the Brahmin said is true. This king is like, he's living in this total. God has given him this opulence because he's so connected, but he doesn't use it for any selfish purpose. He's giving it all back. He's got this elaborate rituals and ceremony. He's got the whole kingdom kind of like centered around God. They're all focused and they're all pure and they're all elevating themselves. This is beautiful. He walks up and says, you, it's you. You are the most fortunate person in the whole universe. Look at you. This is incredible. I bow down to you. You are like a great, great soul. You're tops in my book. What does he say?
Me?
What are you talking about?
I am so small.
I'm nothing. You want to see someone, you think my puja and my followers and all this is a big deal.
Called deflection of praise, practiced by the devotees of Lord Vishnu.
Yeah.
We don't want to embrace praise. Praise becomes a burden. So we deflect it because our focus is on other people's greatness. And we think, and it's focused on our reality. And what's our reality is? We are tiny. We are small. Illusion is I'm the center. I'm the biggest. Everybody should appreciate me. That's illusion.
Right. All right. There's no happiness in that illusion. We think that's where the happiness. If I can just convince myself that I'm great, But no, it's when you let go, right? So all these people, they've got opulence, they've got deep spiritual life, they've got followers, but they've let it all go, and they're actually happy, right? So he says, what I've got here is nothing. It's nothing. You want to see someone who's really fortunate, who's really been blessed, who's really connected, who's deep. You go to the heavens, go see Lord Indra. I'm telling you, when you see where he's at, what I've got going here is going to seem totally insignificant. So he goes to the heavens. He goes to see Lord Indra. Now Indra, it's the same thing, but just on a much higher scale, And that's the point, that these devas, even though Indra will commonly appear as the fool in the Bhagavatam, we should understand that the reason he's being presented as the fool is because we're seeing even such a great being, if they get too caught up in materialism, even they become Homer Simpson and are made a fool. So he says, when Indra says, "What are you talking about? Me? I'm the worst." Indra says, amongst the devotees of Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna, I'm an offender practically. You heard about that story in the Bhagavatam where I made a complete fool of myself? I attacked Vrindavan.
Became a pig. I went to
No,
Vrindavan,
there
I
he
stole
says, yeah, like who's worse than me? Like I rained down. There's one of the most important leelas of Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam comes in the 10th canto, where when the Krishna and his family, Krishna's just a boy, and his family, his father's kind of the leader of this community of farmers and cow herders, and they were going to do their like ritual to Indra, the god of rain. And little Krishna says, "Why Indra?" He kind of deflects it, and then this Deva becomes so upset, so prideful, that he attacks that community with like ridiculously heavy storms.
You don't want to worship me? All right.
Yeah, I'll wipe you out.
Here you go. I'm going to give you a little piece of my anger.
Yeah.
He just starts, the Lord of Rain makes it pour rain, lightning storm, tornado, hurricanes.
He really laid it on.
He laid it on thick. Columns of rain, they said. It was like much more sick than monsoon. Like columns of rain. Floods.
Floods. It was bad. Okay, Raghu. It was bad weather. So now I've seen for the first time Raghu as a weatherman. Like I
meteorologist Raghunath. We had columns of rain coming down in the village of Vrindavan.
And they're like, okay, the weather report's over now. We got more news. Okay. So Indra says, I'm the worst, like I'm not a great soul, and he keeps, and everybody's keep pushing them up to the next person. That's the point. So here we have the Devas, likely Indra among them, right? And they're all what we're reading here today. And they're all there in their beautiful bodies, in their beautiful landscapes, with their beautiful opulences in so many ways. But they have this realization that if we're not careful, right, that all of our opulences will not become the source of pleasure for us, but they will make fools out of us. And we will be like Homer Simpson with both hands stuck up Coke machines. Right? We will, we will, if we're not careful, right, all of this, it just backfires. There's no happiness in it, and you get lost in it, and you're made a fool of the material energy. You become a clown. And so they're praying, like, how can we recognize that you're the source of everything? They said it again and again in these verses, right? You're the root. You're the original person. You're the oldest origin of it all. You are the root of existence. You're the one that impregnated the entire universe. You're the father of it all. It all goes back to you, right? We recognize that you're like the root, and we're like the many leaves that are connected to the tree. And so if we disconnect ourselves from the root, from the larger tree, thinking that we can be independent, thinking that we can find our happiness separately, it just leads to our vitality drying up, right? To our happiness drying up, Sure. Just like if you pull a leaf off a tree. It has to stay connected to the root, right?
That's it, the source. This is the beauty of, Prabhupada does that beautiful analogy too. It's sort of like the hand in and of itself has some beauty, but its beauty and its function and its use comes when it serves the whole. Right. We have some beauty, but our beauty is enhanced when we serve something bigger than ourselves. So the hand, if it was to be severed from the body, right? The hand can pick some food, put it in the mouth, it nourishes the body, and then the hand becomes happy. If the hand is severed from the body, that same hand, it's the exact same hand, is ghastly. If I came into the yoga studio in the morning and I saw, now if you hold up your hand, Kaustubha, if you don't mind.
You did this the other day, Raghunath.
Hold up your hand. You have a very beautiful
hands.
hand. Look at that beautiful hand.
Regular hands.
It's like you could be a hand model, modeling rings and various other hand trinkets, gloves.
Another Costanza-esque.
Yes. Another Seinfeld reference. So if you take a beautiful hand like Kaustubha and sever it from the body, and then I walk on this, you wouldn't say, "There's Kaustubha's beautiful hand." You'd be like, "Oh, a hand. It looks like Kaustubha's hand, right? It'd be ghastly. We become ghastly when we are separated from our source and trying to like show the whole world how great we. Even if I put 1,000 diamond rings on that severed hand, who cares? So this
good
is
point,
our
good point. Yeah, whatever material opulence, once it's disconnected,
who cares?
it's ghastly.
Who cares? But that hand has great significance when connected. And this is our job as yogis, to become reconnected with the whole. We're always connected anyway, but we just forgot. And I'm walking around like an independent hand. What was that hand called on the Addams Family?
Did they have a hand or something?
It came out of a box. Did you watch the Addams
Cousin
Family?
It? That was something else, right?
That was something.
Yeah.
The hand. I don't know. Addams Family? Is that
Thing? Tom Essex
Thing.
says it's called Thing.
It's called the
Thank
thing.
you, Tom. There you go.
So there's a verse in Bhagavatam.
We brought it on a lot of TV shows today, by the way.
We have. Let's get back to the Bhagavatam. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam that takes this
It's
idea.
all the Bhagavatam.
I know. It takes this idea. But if we don't occasionally speak on Bhagavatam, we will forget that it's all Bhagavatam. So it takes this idea still further, the idea being, and this is really significant, that if you are focused on becoming reconnected, like the Devas, they're saying we've got important responsibilities to carry out on your behalf.
Right.
We want to see everything that we do as service to you. We want to make our lives fully devoted to you, and thereby become empowered to carry out your will. Right? That this attitude of like, I want to serve that center. And if I serve that center, if I'm entirely focused on serving that center, in other words, if I'm entirely focused on pouring water on the root of the tree, simply by that one central focus, I've watered the entire tree. Every leaf benefits, right? My duties and my responsibilities, as well as the expression of my care, becomes perfectly fulfilled by watering the root of the tree. If I have a watering can and I got a tree and I said, you know what, I want to care for each and every leaf. You know,
I'm going to water each leaf.
Yeah, out of a sincere desire to do good.
Right.
Right. Let me water each leaf. I'm going to go around to, you know, first of all, I wouldn't be able to get to everyone. Some of them would be neglected. Right. And second, it's actually not it's not the best way to actually serve that leaf.
What's going on in this world today, Prabhu?
It is.
We're
So
wa-
here's
trying to-
go ahead. No,
you go.
Okay. this will tee up your realization still better, I think. So this is the prachetas, these really great yogis, right? Really far out yogis who they were meant to come and also take on like leadership roles, important leadership roles. But beforehand, they said, we're going to do like 10,000 years meditation under the water. Prepare ourselves for it. Focus our minds, get it connected.
That's how I
to God.
prepare for yoga class.
I know that's what you do. So they went down into the water and they did their meditation. But afterwards, these are the prayers when Lord Vishnu appeared before them. In this verse, commonly quoted verse, important verse. As pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else. And then, and this is showing how you're thinking like the prachetas.
Yeah.
And then the next one, and supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and the limbs of the body, right? Like that hand, it can't try to enjoy the food on its own. It's got to feed the mouth. And then it becomes, if the hand tries to enjoy food on its own, it doesn't get anywhere, right? Just squishing it, right? It's got to take that food, feed the center, connect to the root, feed the stomach, and then it becomes nourished naturally. So as pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, simply by worshiping the Supreme Personality of God, simply by reconnecting to that Adi Purusha, to that original source, through devotional service, through bhakti, automatically satisfies the demigods who are parts of that Supreme Personality. It automatically, all of your duties, we might feel we have certain duties to perform, but if that's our focus and that's our intention, that's our goal, we become one-pointed, we become focused on that root, then if we do that, and there's a doubt, and I'll bring up that doubt in a minute. I want you to share what you're going to share, but there's a doubt that one can have about that.
Don't worry, I already forgot it.
What were you going to say?
Go on.
I forgot where you're going.
What's the doubt? What's the doubt?
Well, let's look at the doubt. Someone could say, okay, that's an interesting analogy that you've used. I can see a certain logic in it, If everything's stemming from God, then if we get right with God, then it should seem to satisfy all the issues. But look at all these religions out there, right? You're telling me that I just need to worship God, connect with God, and then what about all these problems that plague our society? Don't we have to deal with them directly? And isn't it this focus on religion that actually causes so many of these problems? And why don't you give all that up and start dealing with all these problems? Okay, and honestly, I think there's a logic to that too, that can be appreciated. You with me?
I'm right there. I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Okay, so here's my answer to that. Is that when you actually connect, not superficially, but for real.
For real.
Right. On the superficial level, what you've just said is entirely correct. Right. If your idea or efforts or whatever to reconnect with God are on the superficial level, am I wearing the right yarmulke? Am I wearing the right cross? Or am I wearing the right symbols? Hijab, tilak on the forehead and neck beads. If it's only on the superficial level, I've become religious. I've aligned myself with a religious
club.
Faith club. Yeah. That's not at all. That's so surface that it's practically useless and it can become counterproductive. Right.
Good, because I'm bald and I cannot grow one of those ponytails.
Okay. Yeah. But what you can do, and what every living being can do, is take it beyond that superficial level and really get to self-transformation. So, like, in other words, if my idea is, if I please God, then I'm doing the best I can for every living being. If I water the root, I'm doing the best I can for every leaf. Well, then one would say, well, what does it take to please God? Right? Is it that allegiance to a particular faith? No, that's very superficial. It means self-transformation, right? And so, like, these verses, we brought them up before, but I say, here you find, if you, at the second half of the 12th chapter, the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes at length what makes someone dear to him. And maybe we could end on this here today. That if we actually want to water that root, it's not a superficial thing. If we actually want to become reconnected in such a way that it's not even just our own salvation that we're interested in, but we're interested in benefiting the whole world, then this Krishna says you have to become like this to water the root. And he says, one who is not envious, one who has no animosity, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think themselves a proprietor, and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, their mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear. He by whom no one is put into difficulty, and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. My devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and not striving for some result, is very dear to me. One who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, such a devotee is very dear to me. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service, and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal are very, very dear to me. And I said that too fast. Priosime. Yeah, they become
that
very
is
dear
chapter 12, right? So if you like those verses, what are those verses, Kaustubha? So we can.
That's chapter 12, beginning with 12:13 to the end, 12:20.
And the beautiful thing about that is it's all universal truth. Got nothing to do with what religion, what club you've joined, how to become dear to Bhagavan or to spirit or to your higher power. And it's our behavior and our way we act and the way we act to other people. This is massive. The dignity we share with all living beings.
And the way we dance.
And the way we dance. So here's some takeaways from today's show.
Oh, takeaways. Yeah, what do you got?
Well, Krishna is not Judge Judy.
Krishna's not Judge Judy, yeah.
Okay, what else? Kaustubha has beautiful hands. Water the root.
Water the root.
And all the leaves will be...
And, I remember. Kill your fake self with humor.
Kill your fake self. A deep moral inventory, an awkward inventory of our shortcomings, of our fake self to find the real self. Deflect praise. Praise leads to illusion. There's no happiness.
You got a lot of good stuff. Are you taking notes?
I wasn't. I asked the message board to write things, and some people wrote some very useful things.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. A great way to start your day. Srimad Bhagavatam every day. Repetition is the mother of mastery. Boom! That's another thing. Make a coffee mug out of that.
I don't think you own that one.
I don't know it. I just borrow things. I don't own anything. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Tomorrow's Saturday, so it's Q&A day Saturday. If you have questions on your spiritual journey, you can write them to us at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com, and we do our best to try to answer all the questions that come in. And that's tomorrow, 8 o'clock. So you get to sleep in Saturday. And then we have a special guest, Raghunath, who made this cool film on women's empowerment in India. And he was a monk, also a Bhakti monk. And so he's a cool guy. He was on our Walk-In Wednesday last week.
Yeah, bringing him back.
We're bringing him back. We're going to highlight his film. And yes, someone's asking about Bhakti 101. When's it happen again? Sunday?
Sunday. When is it, Mara?
10:30.
10:30 to 12:30? Yeah.
Yep.
So remember, everybody, community-supported podcast. If you want to support what we're doing, we really appreciate it when those things come in. They say, this person has joined Patreon. You go to patreon.com/wisdomofthesages. We really appreciate all your support. Everybody that's out there, don't think you're unappreciated. You're incredibly appreciated. It is a beautiful day. For a beautiful day, let's dance a little. What do you say?